Yo, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's well. We're, you know, everyone's still on holiday mode. This period between Christmas and New Year's, it's kind of just all blur for a lot of people, myself included. Clients are traveling. I'm traveling. People are off of work. Trying to keep a routine. I think that's the secret to staying on top of your goals, staying on top of your health, just staying on top of your plans is keeping a routine as good as you can, whether it's waking up at the same time every day, no matter what, going to bed at the same time, eating your meals at the same time. That sort of routine helps consistency. That being said, wherever you are in the world tapping in, I say welcome. I appreciate you. YouTube let me know yesterday that we just passed 10 million total views on my YouTube channel, which is just a number to me. It's pretty crazy. I remember just a few years ago, we were at 4,000 people. We just passed 27,000 subs. Guys, also, if you haven't joined our Johnny Says Boxing Discord, it's a VIP membership here on YouTube. You get access to the Discord. It's a couple bucks a month. It's pinned here in the comment section. Also, our Patreon. Join the Patreon. You get a bunch of perks. You get perks in the Patreon that you don't get on YouTube. So that is a bonus as well. That's also just a couple bucks a month. Whatever way you can support me. If it's just a thumb up for this video, or if you join our team, I say thank you. I do want to announce a couple changes, some updates coming in the new year. Launching next week, I'm going to be reintroducing MMA and UFC into my content. Now, if you guys are OGs on my channel since 2022, dating back to like 2017, I used to just have an MMA interview channel. I would do my podcast, the Vision Board podcast, back in 2014. I launched Ungoogleable, the Ungoogleable podcast in 2018, and I would just use my YouTube to put my interviews up there. So interviews, everyone from Stipe Miocic to Hoist Gracie, Matt Brown, Carlos Condit, a lot. The list is crazy. We interviewed Dan Severn, hundreds of fighters. A lot. It almost seems like a different life for me personally. Anyway, I've been a fan of MMA and UFC since the infancy, 93. I watch every fight. It just makes sense. You guys are asking, Johnny, why don't you do stats don't lie videos for UFC fights? I will be doing that in the new year. I'll be picking 1 to 2 UFC fights, and then I'll do a breakdown, analysis, and prediction. Just like our boxing series, we're going to have an MMA series. Also, one live stream a week. It's going to be my Thursday at 11 a.m. Sydney time is going to be a UFC MMA devoted stream to the betting, and it's going to be co-hosted by Nick from Breaking Bad Boxing. I put that in the Discord already. I put it up on YouTube and I put it up on my Instagram. So that's things to look forward to. We're growing, and I'm constantly always looking on ways how to expand. And over the last 6 months, you guys have asked for things, and we've implemented them, and this is what's helped our growth. That being said, I think it's only fair we talk about what happened with AJ. Um, I woke up to this news. If you guys are unaware, Anthony Joshua was involved in a car crash in Nigeria, and he wasn't driving. I'll show you some footage. I talked about it already on my channel in terms of I uploaded a video, I uploaded a short. His strength and conditioning coach and his personal trainer were in the front seat of the car. One was driving, one was in the passenger. AJ was in the back seat with his son, and they're on a highway, and one of the tires explodes. That then forces the car to veer off to the side and crash into a car that was on the side of the road. There are 2 fatalities. Both men in the front have passed away tragically. His PT, his strength and conditioning coach, rest in peace to the families involved. There's footage of AJ being pulled out of the car. He looks like he's in pain. I'm not going to show you the footage of the other of his mates being pulled out because I'm not into stuff like that. I don't like gore. I don't like. I've never been one into shock content, so it's not my thing. I'm sure you guys, if you want, you can go find that on your own. I do want to highlight, though, use this as an opportunity to highlight the fact that how short life is. We'll get into boxing, we'll get into betting. We have fights tomorrow. We got the Ioka fight tomorrow. We got the Holly Holm and the Stephanie Hahn card, which we'll get into. But I got to talk about this. So I'm pulling up the Instagram of Anthony Joshua. You could see, if you guys are familiar with Instagram, when right there at the top, this is his story, right? You can see the red circle around the story. That highlights that this story was uploaded within 24 hours. This is just heartbreaking. So he uploads this, and this is his mate on the right side. This is one of the guys who were in the front seat, who was in the crash. This is his strength coach, healthy mindset, and this was 15 hours ago. And if you would have told both of these guys 15 hours that his life would be over, they won't believe you. You know, these guys are celebrating a huge victory, for Anthony, a great moment, for their whole team. The knockout win over Paul, great exposure. And then within 15 hours of that post, one of them is tragically gone. It's heartbreaking stuff. I'll pull up a little bit more. You know, this is kind of what I use for breaking news. You just go up to the Instagram. Yeah, Sin and Latif. Sin and Latif were his two mates who passed away. Right here. Really heartbreaking stuff here. Latif and Sina both were in the front seat, his mates. The one on the left was the one playing ping pong with him 15 hours ago. And, you know, you close your eyes, you go like this, and your life could be over. So I guess my point is, don't ever take for granted each day. You never know when it's going to be your last. I think it's still kind of a developing story. The facts are the facts. You know, two people have perished. The tire on the car that they were driving in exploded. They crashed into a parked car. Anthony Joshua's son was in the back seat. Everything I heard that his son wasn't injured. And then what I do want to show you is just the footage. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to show you footage of AJ being pulled out. He looks like he's in pain. So this is him in the car. Hopefully we don't see anybody else in that car. I haven't seen this specific footage before, but look at the town, the village, wherever they crashed. Everybody came to their rescue. The car is, surrounded by people. They're trying to get Anthony Joshua out of the car. You can see people everywhere. He's in the middle section. I guess there's 3 sections to that vehicle. I think it might have been a Mercedes-Benz SUV, and just in the front of him were his 2 mates. So really, you know. This is the one. This is the only footage I'm going to show you. Look, they're really they're really having to pull him out. He looks like he's in pain. It looks like probably a body injury, maybe ribs. And yeah, man, your heart goes out to everybody involved. Traumatic stuff for him, traumatic stuff for his son who was in the car with him, and obviously the families who lost loved ones. And everybody who witnessed this. Trauma is real. And I'm gonna end it right there. Yeah. I think the human, our eyes aren't supposed to see certain things in terms of I don't think, it's right to see trauma all the time. Let's pull up, and on that note, we're going to talk a little bit of boxing. 10 minutes in, I'm going to say what's up to everybody. I'm going to pull up the sports bet. We're going to talk about Ioka. I'm going to take your questions, and I'll keep it on as long as you want. I'm going to pull the odds up first to see if they shifted with the Ioka. Last I saw, the odds on the money line weren't anything good. If I'm not getting a method of victory, I'm not even going to bet on this fight. And as of yesterday, we weren't getting any options. We weren't getting any round betting. It was just literally a 107 and a 9-1. Yeah, there you go. I'm not if this stays how it is, because the fight happens tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So in roughly, it's 11 already. Another 9 hours, 33 hours. I'm not gonna play this. In order to even play this fight, you're gonna want to get method of victory, round betting, over and unders, etc. As of now, that's not too. I mean, why even bet that? $1.07. Mike from Melbourne. What's up, Johnny? Happy for him. I said, dude, Happy New Year, my friend. It's a new year, fresh time to start for you. And Gary to get on live and debate Holmes. Gary in the house. You guys are wild, man. We could debate. Subaru versus Dalton, Holmes versus Hahn. Yeah, you guys kind of know where I stand with those fights, right? I'll pull up Holmes versus Hahn. We spoke about it earlier in the week. As we get closer to Dalton and Matthias, we could get into that. We could look at Holly and Stephanie Hahn right now. Hahn, 290 dog, 100 on her, gets your money back plus 190, not quite 2-1. 49% back on Holly Holm, which I think these odds are pretty fair. One's 44, one's 35. One's a Hall of Famer in two sports, one isn't. This is a 3-minute, I think these are 12 3-minute rounds. Stephanie Hahn's only gone 10 rounds once in her last fight. She got dropped in the first round, then won a points decision. Holly Holm made a career in the UFC fighting 5-minute rounders, 5-rounder, 5 minutes each. She was always in world title fights. I like Holly Holm in this fight. I think she's better, classier, bigger, stronger. I think she's sharper. I think she should wear Stephanie Hahn down. I'm waiting for props to come out on this fight. What's the other one you said? This is an interesting fight. Liam Paro versus Patty Donovan. This goes down in roughly 2.5 weeks. This is in Australia. Look at those odds, man. I got to be honest with you. I wasn't impressed with Liam Paro's first fight at 47. He fought David Papeau just a few months ago in Australia. Kind of went life and death with him. I think Paro struggled with David Papeau's size and struggled with the 7 pounds. You know, it's always it's always a case where we just saw it with Nakatani going to 22 against Logan. You have to take that into consideration when a fighter moves up to a new weight class, whether it's a 4-pound jump, a 7-pound jump. It's still extra weight that the fighter isn't used to carrying in a dogfight. David Benavidez against Vosdick, David Benavidez against Morrell, and then we saw Benavidez in his third fight at light heavy against Anthony Yard figuring things out. So maybe that's the case. Maybe Liam was struggling with that first fight. I think that Patty Donovan's better than David Papeau. I think Patty Donovan beat Lewis Crocker both times. Granted, Patty got dropped in the first round against Lewis. The last fight he got dropped. The first knockdown was a pretty bad knockdown. He recovered pretty convincingly and then made the same exact mistake, came running in and got caught again. But I got to be honest, I gave that fight to Patty. The judges didn't agree. Lewis Crocker's a world champ. Donovan isn't. I like Donovan in this fight. I think Donovan's going to be the taller guy, the longer guy. He's the younger guy. I think he's more athletic. I like Patty Donovan here, man. I don't think Liam has the power. It's crazy, man. I'm still torn because whenever we're betting on fights, we have to take into consideration though the politics of each bet. I talked about this in the Discord. As betting men, as gamblers like we are, we would be ill-advised to not take into consideration that this fight is in Australia, that Liam is the A side, that Patty is the one traveling. And so from a judging perspective, you got to think about that. And in a close 50-50 fight, I think it is a 50-50 fight. When we're, thinking about where we're putting our money, I could tell you I think Patty's going to win. I think Patty should win. But still, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to put my money on Patty. In a close fight that goes the distance, I could see Liam winning a decision. So you have to think about that as well. Sent from Pet. Gary wants to talk with you about Holly Holm. Yeah, I talked to him. He was surprised that you picked Holly Holm. I would say hit him. He already talked to him. Dude, I talked to Gary. You guys are wild, man. I talk to him all the time. I just haven't done a live stream with him. So part of that is, yeah, I'm really focused on my channel. I'm really focused on growing my brand, and a lot of some of those decisions that nothing personal with anyone. You know what I'm saying? Subaru by decision. I can see that. Matthias not really a knockout puncher. If Dalton is mentally already weak, I can see him surviving and having the excuse ready in his head that Matthias may be on the gear. I mean, Matias. Matias isn't a one-punch knockout guy, but he's definitely a volume sort of swarm. I mean, not 90 at one time he had 100% knockout to win ratio. You know what I mean? With his 94% knockout to win ratio. So he's a puncher. He's just not a one punch guy. He's very dense in his punches. Everything I've heard, he has big hands. He hits really hard. He doesn't sit down on everything. You know, he kind of volumes you, and then when he starts seeing you break, he pours it on you, and then he uses that volume for you to, 94% career knockout to win ratio at the highest level. I don't think Dalton Smith is on his level. I don't think Dalton Smith. I'm not sold on Dalton Smith, boys. What Dalton Smith performance are you sold on? The Jose Zepeda performance? Maybe. I live by the credence of what have you done for me lately? You guys know that. We should get t-shirts made. It's how I break down fights. It's how I, choose to bet my money on whatever fighter I'm betting on. You don't have to look too deep. You don't have to go too far. You guys could talk about, I heard some of you guys saw Petros and Yanin. Subriel fought a guy, Petros and Yanin, like 5-6 years ago, and he lost to him, and then he fought him again, and then he knocked him out. And then people want to use that as triangle theories. All you have, and then the close decision against Puello, the loss against Liam Paro. I mean, there is an argument that you could say that Subriel, has lost his last two fights, but even that being the case, when I look at Dalton Smith, I see a very basic guy with a very sort of, fundamentally sound skill set from the UK that looked very average against a Canadian journeyman in Matthew Germain. So that's what we're doing here, guys. What we're doing here is we're weighing and we're comparing two styles in a world title fight in Brooklyn, New York. One's Puerto Rican, one's a Brit. The Brit is traveling. The Brit's coming off a very lackluster performance against a Canadian journeyman, which he didn't look good. And the world champion is coming off a very close decision win in which he could have lost against another former world champion, Alberto Puello, who I rate. I think Puello won that fight. So when we're saying what style, is Dalton going to put Subriel on the back foot? Could Dalton handle the pressure and stress of Subriel's style? When we're looking at let's look at the odds. I don't feel comfortable betting money on Dalton Smith. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be another one of these fights, another one of these matchups for me. You guys could clip this. I have no problem losing money on a guy that is fighting a guy that I don't believe in. So I don't believe in Dalton Smith. He's going to have to prove it to me. And as of now, he hasn't proved it to me. And there's no way I'm going to bet $1 on Dalton Smith. We'll pull up the odds. Let's go. Yeah, juicy. Juicy odds, boy. I like it. I like it all around the board. January 11th, 2 weeks. We're getting close. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Boys, this is the calm before the storm, JSB insiders. The calm before the storm. We have Ioka tomorrow to carry us through. We'll kind of limp towards the weekend. And then we have the MVP card to kind of carry us to bed. And then when we wake up and we come out of this holiday slumber, we got next week to look forward to. And then January is going to be a banger. And then we're going to hit the ground running for 2026. It's going to be a big year for us. But there's nothing in Dalton Smith's tape that I see. I don't believe that he's a super athlete that everybody's saying he is. He looked very basic against Matthew Germain. I don't know, man. I like Subriel Matias' style. Let's pull up their resumes. Five foot 9.5. He's going to be pretty much the same size. I think Subriel's going to have a longer reach. He's already 28 years old. 18-0 with 13 knockouts. The Matthew Germain fight. The Jose Zepeda fight's probably his best win. That's a 37-4 Jose Zepeda. There's nothing. I don't see anything. I'm sorry. I think those odds are wrong. I think Dalton Smith should be a bigger dog. I was actually I was expecting to see a superstar against Matthew Germain. I'm not lying, guys. I told you guys this yesterday on my live stream. The first time I watched Dalton Smith was his last fight. I watched his tape. The first time I tuned in live, I was they built this card around him. The bright lights, the international stage. I was expecting to see a superstar. I was like, what is this? This is Dalton Smith. It was a letdown. I was let down unless maybe he just had an off night. I don't think that dude on his best night beats this dude though. I think Dalton Smith is going to have a super career night to beat this guy. 5'8". He's gonna have a 2-inch reach. They're listed kind of the same height. We'll see during the weigh-ins. You never know what what BoxRec tells us. We just saw a girl on BoxRec who was listed at 5 feet tall against Sky Nicholson, and she was taller than Sky. So you never know. We'll know more when they're face to face. Dude, the beatdown he put on Goyaz. We just dude, watch, dude. He beat the brakes out of Gab Goyaz the fight before Puello. So calendar year. Yeah, this would have been his third. So he fought twice last year. I think Dalton fought twice too. He hasn't fought since April. Dalton hasn't been the most active. Yeah, I'm not sold on this guy, mate. Let's see what the boys are saying. MMA content next year, great. Appreciate, yeah, boys. It's gonna be fun. Matias improving after play was all wrong for Dalton, even pre-Paro Matias. Do you see Subaru stop him? Mike, right now at $1.79, I'm happy with the odds. I'm happy with the 79-cent return rate, but closer we get to the 11th, we'll be getting sexy with I'll do a method of victory parlay for the card. We'll pull that card up too. The card's pretty dope. TBS Sports YouTube. Dalton is too patient for me. Yeah, but do you remember he was sold to us as this hyper athletic, aggressive puncher? This is how he was. This is how they market him. Like aggressive, good, and they try to say he's a great counter boxer. I didn't see that against Jermaine. And Jermaine used pressure to put him on his back foot. What do you think Subaru Matias is going to do? Matias isn't going to give him the space, right? And this is when I talk about how stressful Matias is. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, there's styles that are stressful. There's punchers. There's specific skills that a guy brings into the ring. If you're facing a big puncher, that in the back of your head could be stressful. If you're facing a guy with a great hook, knowing all fight camp you drilled circling away from that hook, that could be stressful. With Subaru Matias, that constant pressure pace style, his thudding punches, the whole thing is stressful. I think it's a jump up. I mean, I think this is too big of a jump for Dalton Smith. I have no problem being wrong. I have no problem with Dalton Smith on the 11th stepping up to the plate, looking amazing, and then me saying, dude, I was wrong. He stepped up. I just don't see that happening. And this is why we call it gambling. This is the game within the game. We watch the tape. We watch their careers. We know the sport. We train. We fight. And then the game within the game is once you come to terms with all that, the gamble is you take the risk on what you see versus expectation. I don't see Dalton Smith fighting up to the world level. That's what you guys taking Dalton Smith are expecting. You're expecting this kid from the UK with 18 pro fights to travel to Brooklyn, New York, Statue of Liberty, America, over the pond, and fight at the world level against Subaru. I just don't see it. I think it's too much. We'll see. I have no problem debating anyone on that too. What you got Subaru by so far? I like Matias to stop Dalton, especially if he realizes he can't afford to go the distance looking at the Petros. What are you talking about, dude? He knocked Petros and Yanin out. We got to stop. We got to start doing revisionist history. He stopped Petros and Yanin. First time fighting out of Europe, looked bad in his past fight against a journeyman. Fought once. Pet, this is what I'm talking about, man. Why? Who in our hood? Who in our hood is picking some of the boys picking Dalton? Because that's what I'm trying to. Guys, there's 27 on the chat. Put your hand up if you're picking Dalton Smith. And the one thing you'll know on my channel is we could debate. I'm not gonna, we're not gonna clown each other. I just want to know where you're coming from. Maybe you could change my mind. But put your hand up. Say you want to come on. I'm gonna put the link in our Discord. Are any of you guys betting on Dalton Smith? Invite guests. All right, boys. I'm gonna put this in our Discord real quick. Live now. That's the call in link. Anyone who wants to dial in. All right, I put it up in there. My bad. What did Pat say? I'm talking about the first fight he lost to Petros, but he was not just. But yeah. I mean, how long ago was that too, though? Yeah, I struggle going that far back though, mate, because like somebody just said, you learn fighters at Subril's level. He's added things to his game. He looked, even from Pero to Matias, he looked way. I mean, his output. I wasn't expecting him to have that much volume and output. So he fought Nyanin the first time, February 20th. What year was that? That was a 10-rounder. $2022. That feels like it was 49 years ago. It was going on 4 years ago. Anyanin drop shocks Matias on the Wilder card. 2020. So almost 6 years ago. So he got dropped in what round did Subriel get dropped in? But then, he came back and stopped him. This is why I like the mobile version of BoxRec. I always talk about it. The mobile version of BoxRec, when you go under bouts, you see what date it was on. It's just much easier to navigate than the PC version, in my opinion. So he fought Petros the first time, lost to UD 2020. Matias got dropped in the 7th. Fights him the second time 2 years later and stopped him in the 9th. Dropped him in the 9th and stopped him in the 9th in a fight in which he was up wide on the cards. So if anything, that's a great fight to use as adjustments that Matias, because I think more often than not, guys who have a high knockout to win ratio, the average fan will create a narrative that he's just a puncher or he's just a finisher and kind of dismisses the fact that they might have other elements. I think Subriel has a higher fight IQ than people give him credit for. I think Subriel's feet are better than people give him credit for. I think he has better timing. Dude, his timing nobody talks about. Everybody talks about the knockout to win ratio. Good timing. Some people pick Dalton Smith. They said he is little. He is little Liam Paro. Wow. I think Liam Paro is more athletic than Dalton Smith. I like Liam Paro's backhand. I don't know, man. Would you pick Liam Paro to beat Subriel if they fought again? That was a close fight. Let's see what the judges' scorecards were. Paro versus Subriel. One judge had it 116 to 111 to 116, and then 115 to 112 twice. Paro was deducted 1 point for holding in round 7. Liam Paro fought magnificently that fight too. He fought really well. He was getting touched a lot. Matias and Yankel money line. Nice odds. Nice. That's that. That I like that play. I think I have that on my long parlay I put in the Discord. I'll pull that up in a second. We saw how much the layoff affected the Puerto Rican fighter from Box, no doubt. Yeah, you're talking about Palaco, the one who just got knocked out. I think that's who you're talking about. We won on that money too. Who told you to take? Who told you to take my boy Will Harrison? I told you. I told you. All you guys want to talk about though is punk ass Callum Simpson. Well, dude's got no love, man. Where's all the love at? Bro, no doubt it'll affect Dalton. Hard thing is nobody can really replicate Matisse's style, let alone. And that's the thing, Pet. It's the power that is. How do we call it? You know, it's almost sneaky power. It sneaks up on you. It's that power where I don't know if you got. I don't know if you box, but I have sparring. For instance, I have sparring in 4 hours and 15 minutes. I'm gonna spar at 4 p.m. my time. It's 11:45 now. The dude I'm gonna spar with, he's 15 years younger than me. Now, what he has on his side is youth. But what I have on my side is experience. Now, granted, we're not trying to knock each other out. I also have better cardio than he has, but he can punch a bit. You know, he has power. He has good enough power to where I'm not going to like stay in front of him and play the counterboxing game too much too soon because, you know, he could punch a little bit. This Super Matias has what I call sneaky power. He's the guy that you could stand in front of early and you could take a shot, you take a clean one, and you might tell yourself, you know what, that shit, he can't, that ain't doing nothing to me. His power isn't that good. And then you might get this false sense of security where you're staying around him a little bit too much. And then before you know it, it's the fourth, fifth round, and all of those punches are starting to add up, and your feet are starting to degrade a bit, and your cognition, you know, the ability to make proper decisions in a firefight. Now it's a seventh round, and now he's touching you up a bit more, and his volume's increasing, and you're slowing down, and that's where it gets freaking dangerous. This is, you know, this is where, you know, R.I.P. to Dadashev. This is where it gets dangerous because Matias is that dude who will lull you into a false sense of security with his punch style. And then before you know it, mid to late rounds, you're down on the cards, you're getting hit a lot. He starts sitting on things. His volume is increasing. Yours is decreasing. Your feet has slowed down. His hasn't. This is where it gets dangerous. Paro is comfortable. But yeah, Paro's class, man. Liam Paro's class. I love Liam Paro countering. I love him in the pocket. I love his backhand. The fight, was it Jonathan Navarro? The fight before David Pepot, when Robert Garcia's son brought down, I think, Jonathan Navarro, a very highly touted prospect in 2019, and then he took like 5 years off, and then Liam just dismantled him, and then we saw Liam move up to 47, and Liam had to go life and death with Pepot, man. Liam really, what Liam struggled with Pepot was his size. And we know that was Paro's first fight at 47. We'll see if he could settle into, you know, this next fight. But this next fight's no cakewalk either for him. I mean, I got to be honest. I think Patty Donovan beats him. I do, man. I rate Patty Donovan. I think Patty Donovan is athletic enough to beat him. I think he's skilled enough to beat him. I think he's active enough to beat him. The only thing is that fight's in Australia. Paro been looking great ever since, other than the Hitchens fight and a tough scrap with Popo. He's skilled, super skilled as hell, super skilled as hell. But I mean, he hasn't been looking great. I'll argue on you on this because what do we talk about, MMA boxing addicts? What do we talk about? What have you done for me lately? Liam's last fight, I thought there's an argument to say he lost that fight. He was getting hit clean. His eye was mangled. His face was in a mess. He went life and death with a guy who was 30-0 with 4 knockouts. And he made Pepot look like the big puncher. He was making David Pepot look like a knockout artist. And Liam Paro had to grit through. We know he has heart. We know he's tough. We know he's skilled. We know he's talented. But some guys frame, you know, he just might be an in-betweener. That 140 to 147 jump might be too much for him. We'll see. And Patty Donovan is a guy who fits perfectly at 47. Going to be a little bit taller than Pero, a little bit longer than Pero, bigger dude than Pero, just as athletic. That's a fun fight, man. What we always talk about, though, you got to, before we put our money, you got to take into consideration the politics of the betting. This fight is in Australia. I'm going back and forth on Subaru late stoppage on points. Guy, but 179, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. But it just depends on if you don't want to get too greedy, big dog. The points are fine, man. 79% return is fine. Here's a little bit of a tip for you guys. If you guys like, if you're, let's say you're not on a winning streak. I don't know. You know, you guys see all my bets. You know, we're gonna find a victory every week. I'm gonna find archaeologist in me. Now, if you're one of these guys that you haven't had a victory in a while, you need to adjust how you bet, right? You know, not necessarily what you're seeing, but how you're seeing it, how you're operating it. So for me, my philosophy is when I see a guy like Liam Park or a guy like Subaru Matias, and on the money line, we're getting $1.79, then, you know, that's enough for me. I'm not going to get greedy. Because if you're struggling to put wins together and it's because you're picking the right guy, but you're picking the wrong method of victory, you know, sometimes it's okay to sacrifice or leave a couple dollars on the table for the sake of getting that dub. It's all about momentum. Life, in anything in life, is consistency and momentum. So when I'm looking at these odds, and we're getting Subaru at 71%. That's enough for me, man. If that was 149, I might get sexy with it. And you know damn well come January, come fight week, I'll tell you where my lean is. Come fight week, I'll say what I like, decision or stoppage. Grant, this fight is in the States, so the last thing we don't have to worry about is that bullshit early stoppage by the UK refs. And Dalton Smith is a young, well, he's 28. He's a proud undefeated Brit. He's going to be tough. He's going to be tough, but we know what toughness does against Subaru Matias. He's not going to run from him either. This isn't going to be Subaru Matias versus Alberto Puello. Things are going to, dude, this fight should be exciting, you guys. This fight should excite you because things are going to be found out. We're going to find out if Dalton Smith is that guy that they marketed him, that was marketed to us. We know who Matias is. So these guys who are taking Dalton Smith, they expect Dalton Smith to be the guy to fight on the front foot and beat the Matias that we know, because Matias struggles with, you know, guys who are going to use the entire ring. Movers. Dalton Smith, is he capable of moving the entire fight? Is that the fight he's going to choose to beat Subaru Matias with in Brooklyn? I don't think so. I think Dalton's game plan is he's gonna try to apply pressure too. He's gonna try to fight fire with fire. We're going to see. So if that's the case, if we see fire versus fire, I could see Subaru stopping him. When it gets to the later rounds, I'd rather have my money on Matias. I don't even think you can find sparring partner. Great point, kid. Great point. And this is why, you know what? Shout out to our Discord. This is why the Discord slaps. Because in our Discord, we have live betting pioneers. We have, you know, during any sort of fight, we'll have like 100 people in there. And then some of the boys be like, all right, the live betting odds will be here. And so I'll show you what I mean. Live betting. This would be a good fight to live bet. So right now, I think we're at 339 JSB insiders. Yeah, we need somebody join. We need who's going to be the 340th JSB insider? So my picks, community picks, boxing. Anyone who wants to dial in, share tab instead. Yeah. So my point was the live betting option is always a good spot to either hedge your pick or double down and make money on your pick. The Matias fight is in the UK. No, it's not. It's in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, Brooklyn. New York, New York. Ain't the city of dreams, and everything in New York ain't always what it seems. You might get If you come from out of town, but I'm down by law, and I'm from the dog pound, the incredible, the lyrical. To see me is gonna take a miracle. Johnny, are you putting your money where your mouth is? Yes. What are you talking about? Holly Holmes. Johnny, are you putting your money where your mouth is and putting a packet? Yes. Holly Holm beats Stephanie Hahn. Holly Holm, better athlete, bigger, more, way more pedigree, more seasoned, more power. I give her the endurance advantage, the cardio advantage. This is a 44-year-old girl on paper, but this woman lives in the gym. Before she even went to the UFC in 2013, she was a Hall of Fame boxer. She was already in the Hall of Fame as a boxer, right? So, she fights carves out a Hall of Fame career in MMA, different energy system, adding the grappling side to things. You're grappling, you're wrestling, but she's a striker. And, she retires from MMA, having been a world champion before. I was at the fight when she head kicked Ronda Rousey in Melbourne, Australia, UFC 293, 2015, November. I was at that fight. And now she's boxing again. We saw her comeback fight. She looked great. I just watched Stephanie Hahn's last fight as well. She got dropped in the first round, kind of a flash knockdown. I don't think a girl like there's Stephanie Hahn at 35 does not beat Holly Holm. Holly Holm is an apex athlete. She's never. The reason why I reference this has nothing to do. This is not supposed to be a misogynistic comment. What I'm about to say here, but Holly Holm put her entire. She spoke about this. Never, never had kids, never had children. Literally married to the game. She's been at, Greg Jackson's gym, Jackson Wing, down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, since she was a teenager. So this is a woman who grew up in the gym, that lives in the gym, that always stays in shape. 44 years old, yes. Has a six-pack, yes. Cardio through the roof. This is a 12-rounder, 3-minute rounds. I think she drowned Stephanie Hahn. I could see Hahn getting stopped late. So I love this pick. I'm definitely putting my money where my mouth is. I love Holly Holm in this fight. I think she's a level above Stephanie Hahn. What do you think about Yahadia Herrera being added to the Cabello card? And will you look into the card of Matias Keith Conlon when the time? Yeah, of course. Keith Connolly, undercard of Matias plus Keith Cologne. Yeah, of course. I thought Holly looked washed when she left MMA, but I never seen the girl. MMA is a different breed. MMA is a totally different animal. She took a lot of, she has a lot of miles on her. She does. But did you watch her last fight? She looked good in her last fight. Some of the boys on our channel picked her to lose. She looked good. The girl Holly boxed last looked bad. Yeah, so did the girl that Stephanie Hahn boxed. Stephanie Hahn boxed a mom too, and Stephanie Hahn looked bad. But I'm not trying to talk you out of your bet. And when I'm betting my money, I don't look at the opponents looking bad. I look at how the fighter I'm betting on looks. Let's have a look, boys. I love how you guys are trying to sell each other on your picks. I get it. It's all good. You guys you guys are trying to believe in your own picks. That's fine. You're not going to make me change my mind. Holly Holm dog walk Stephanie Hahn. And we'll come afterwards and I'll tell you that I told you so. But I know that you guys are siding with Hahn and you have to try to find reasons to believe in that. But Stephanie Hahn does not beat Holly Holm. This is a multiple combat sport Hall of Famer. She's a year older than me. I mean, I'll be 44 in April. She is 44. I still have a six-pack. I'm not a professional fighter, though. This is a professional fighter. Her resume speaks for itself. What she's done in the sport, she's a savage. Her strength and conditioning, her training, her cardio, her endurance, all through the roof. Her power, her backhand, her movement. I think this is easy money. I think so. When you look at the size, I think she's gonna big sister her. I think she's gonna bully her. I think Stephanie Hahn's too small. I think she's too basic. She rushes forward. Yeah, I think Holmes gonna bully her 100%. Holmes' body work, her backhand. I could see Hahn getting stopped late. I could see Hahn fading. These are 3-minute rounds, which she doesn't have experience in. Holly Holm carved out an MMA career doing 5-minute rounds. Most of all of her fights after she knocked out Rousey were 5-minute main events. 5-minute main events. So, it's really apples and oranges. They're the only parallels. They're both combat sports. You get punched in both of them. This is a different sport. I think the cardio is going to be way easier for Holly to hold up, and she was known for being a cardio beast. Holly Holm's a beast, man. Who's the better boxer? Holly Holm. Holly's in the Hall of Fame. Holly is a boxing Hall of Famer. It's crazy that I heard you guys talking. I heard some of you boys were messaging me yesterday. You guys were like, but Holly hasn't fought in 13 years. I go, stop listening to Box Rec. You guys sound like casuals. Just because her Box Rec says she hasn't boxed in 13 years, do you not realize that she's a UFC Hall of Famer? Former world champion? Do you guys not know that Holly Holm is a boxing Hall of Famer? She's in the Hall of Fame as a boxer. So who's the better boxer? The Hall of Famer, Holly Holm. She's a G. Preacher's daughter in the house. She could crack too, man. Always, this chick always in shape. The thing I admire the most about Holly is her conditioning. Being a strength and conditioning coach myself, that was always what she weaponized. Her cardio, her endurance, her conditioning. I think she's going to dog walk Stephanie Hahn. I don't think Stephanie Hahn has the pedigree, the experience. I don't think she has the endurance. I don't think she's ever been hit by somebody like Holm. Holm hits like a dude. And let's take a look at the odds. Look when you see how thick when they're doing their side-by-sides. This fight actually excites me, but then again, I could get excited by two crackheads fighting in the city center. I'll get excited by two fucking crackheads fighting over a piece of bread, boy. You give me a Hall of Famer versus a 35-year-old mom, I'm in. Yeah, what? Let's see this one more time. Right there, right there. You can see the size differential. Let's look at the odds. Yeah, I mean, the odds are this for a reason. Stephanie Hahn's a 2-1 dog for a reason. You know what I mean? $1.49 on Holly. 49%. It's a nice parlay booster, but I'm gonna wait until the fight weekend for method of victory. I could see Holly on points, but even Holly stopping her late. She gets an extra minute each round. She gets 36 minutes to fight this girl. I think that favors Holly. I think you guys would be ill-advised to look at the age. This isn't your average 44-year-old at all. And I was actually impressed with what I saw in her last fight. I wasn't expecting her to look as good as she did in her last fight. And what I mean by that, her output. She didn't look tired. She didn't look slow. She didn't look weathered. She didn't look worn. She didn't look shot. She looked like a girl that was making another run at becoming another champion. So that's my take. I'm not betting on Hahn. I've never seen her. Maybe Holly refreshed. Watch her last fight, Kiza. You can find both of the fights. They're both on. We streamed both of them here. I think Holly being a southpaw will give. It's going to be Holly's backhand and her movement, and Hahn's recklessness entering the pocket. Hahn's footwork is very basic. Do you guys ever wonder why women in boxing always get headbutts and cuts? The reason why we see so many head clashes and eyes swollen and cuts, because these women, they're not, they're not lifelong boxers. They're not seasoned. Women's boxing has only been in the mainstream for a little while now. So these ladies are just coming forward like this, right? And this is what Hahn does. You do that against Holly. Holly has good feet. She has good angles. She can move you. She's going to counter with that backhand. Use that jab, step off. Use that jab, body. Wait till you, dude. Holly Holm could. Young Cass is crazy. Holly Holm could fight, boy. GK. I understand your points. Holly seems slower to me and doesn't have as much on her punches. Rare for a girl to put so much aggression behind her punches like Hahn. There you go. GK with his money on Hahn. Good luck, my dog. I like it. This This is not an echo chamber. My job is not to convince you guys, by the way. I'm not trying to talk GK out of his bet because I know he knows what he's doing. I'm not trying to talk Magic Kush out of his bet. I'm not trying to talk Kiza out of his bet. I'm not trying to talk any of you guys out of your bet. I'm only answering your questions as authentic as I possibly can. Have you seen the MVP card? There's like 100 fights on there. I imagine there is. I'll pull it up for you real quick. There's a lot of fights on there, big dog. Yeah, we'll just pull it up real quick. Damn. All right. Wow. Okay. Okay. So we already here are the fights we already have on our books. We have Yankee versus Bohm, Jonathan Gonzalez. We have Han versus Holm, which are on our books already. Serrano versus Tellez will definitely be on our books. Henry LeBron versus Tapia. Jean-Paul Rivera Pizarro versus Alfredo Cruz. Ebony Bridges. She just had a kid. I'm pretty sure she had a kid with who's the Brit? Kell Brook. Shout out to Ebony Bridges. Ozzy lives in the UK. Shout out to Kell Brook. She's fighting Alexis Araiza Moniz. Maybe we could get odds on that. Crystal Rosado Ortiz versus Tanya Walters. Abner Cotto versus Edwin Rodriguez. Alexis Chaparro versus Augusta Salazar. Chris Echevarria versus Gabriel Cruz. So many fights on this card. Yandiel Loreno. John, you know Bet365 is going to have all these. And we're going to be sweating. We're going to be like, shit. You guys are going to be asking me about Justin Hill versus Caleb Pagan. And I'm going to be like, boys, what are we doing? I'm going to be like, boys, what are we doing? That's why one of the realest first card of the new year. Let's go. We got it. We got to keep it like that, GK. Also, man, it's first card of the new year. I like being proved wrong. You know what I mean? If we can't stand on our beliefs, whether they're talking about who's going to win a boxing fight or whatever you believe in, wherever you are in the world, however you live your life, whoever you live that life with, I think it's very important for us individually, especially as men, to believe in something. You know what I'm saying? And if you could believe in one thing, you could, especially your ethics or however you operate. This is how I operate. From what I've seen, from the careers I've seen, from every fight you guys ask me, I don't just look at the numbers or boxer. I watch film study. I'm not bothered by the 44-year-old Holly Holm. It doesn't. The age with her does not bother me. You will find one of the craziest knockouts in boxing history, though, and she was on the wrong side of that. I should mention it was fucking brutal, guys. Somebody should go to prison for this. This was in, I think, 2008. I put up a video on my YouTube, and then I got a copyright strike 2 years ago talking about this fight. But watch this shit. The referee should go to prison for letting Holly Holm get done like this. All right, guys. This is straight up brutal. Watch this. She's already out. She's out. She's out. She's out. Watch this, though. She's out. The fight should be over. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Dude, what are we doing? This might have been 2008, I think. She's already out on her feet. The ref is like, fuck it. If we don't, I guess she just gonna die. That was so to this day, this knockout is up there with Tommy Morrison getting knocked out, in my opinion. Look at that. The ref's like, you know what? Fuck it. We gonna let her fight. We gonna let her fight. This is horrible. Oh my God. Dude. So yeah, just to let you know, there is that. There is that. Abner Figueroa, Cotto, Edwin Garcia will be going the distance 7-0, dude. Dude, we got to so sent from Pet. Post that in our Discord, or at least remind me, because it's only Tuesday. We got, dude, it's only Tuesday, and we're, an hour into this live stream. There's 25 of you on here. I thank all of you guys. Make sure you like this video. We got the Ioka fight tomorrow. I don't know if you guys are getting odds for that fight. Straight facts. That's when I started really making money, when I could watch your videos and say, nah, nice, man. That's what it's all about. Yeah, you know what you're talking about. That's why. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more energy you put into something, especially like sober energy, intent. There's a philosophical teaching called intention versus attention. The average person lives their life paying attention to the world around them. The elevated person lives their life placing intentions to the world around them. Intention versus attention. Be that person. Have intention with everything you do, and you'll see things increase. It's one of the worst knockouts ever in boxing. Bro, it's freaking brutal. Especially the referee just, Holly's knocked out like this. The referee taking her arm and kind of like putting her back to life. Holly, the only boxer I can think of who's gone MMA and done good. Yeah, and Kiza, she was a Hall of Famer. Let me pull something up for you. Check this out. Holly Holm was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2022. Recognized for her dominant boxing career before her transition to MMA, where she won multiple world titles across 3 weight classes with a stellar 33-2-3 record, solidifying her place as one of combat sports' most unique legends. So, when you ask me about Holly Holm fighting Stephanie Han, this is what I'm leaning on. This is what I mean by pedigree. This is what I mean by experience. You can't rush these things. Stephanie Han's not 25. She's 35. She was a police officer. All Holly Holm does is fight. I mean, Holly Holm is an OG to the game. In a perfect world, to put a ribbon on both of these careers, Holly Holm goes out this weekend, looks absolutely fantastic, stops Stephanie Han, and gets a big sort of masterpiece showcase fight with MVP. That's what she's training for. If you think that this is just a fluke, she saw the money coming in women's boxing a couple years ago. She saw the damage that she was taking in MMA. She saw how MMA was evolving. It was becoming less of a sort of, one-trick pony sniper sport 10 years ago, where you could be sort of skilled in one thing and still kind of maneuver through, to like, you better be all around solid everywhere. And this is a striker by trade, right? She came into the MMA as a striker, and the knock on her was always her takedown defense, going to the mat, getting off of her back, getting subbed, etc. But she was good kickboxing, good strikes. But when she saw all this money pouring in a couple years ago, shout out to Jake Paul and MVP. Dude, this is a motivated ass 44-year-old who's having a whole nother go at getting the bag. And it's gonna be a fun fight. And I think she's gonna pull it off. I think she's gonna look good. I think she's gonna surprise people. And more importantly, I think she's gonna remind people about Holly Holm is that bitch. She's always been that bitch. No offense. Where I come from, that's a compliment. She's that bitch. I tell that to my girl. I'm like, Chrissy, you know you that bitch, right? She's like, why are you so vulgar, Johnny? Why do you swear? Chrissy, you know you that bitch. You're so vulgar. They still got no options for the Oka fight, not even worth a parlay. Nah, I agree. I'm leaning Nikita knockout. Oh, shit. Y'all cast is getting saucy, Adu. Adu's getting saucy. I'll come back to that. Alex Pereira got to be combat sport GOAT. Holly Holm might be the family combat. Alex Pereira got to be the combat sports GOAT. I mean, what he did in kickboxing. I mean, I don't know. I kind of I would probably, if Holly Holm becomes a world champion again in boxing, considering the popularity internationally and historically that boxing has versus kickboxing. When Alex was fighting Stylebender in kickboxing, that was in front of a couple hundred people. You know what I mean? It's kickboxing. I disagree with that. Pereira has what, like 12 fights in MMA? Under 15 fights? I mean, he's done a lot, multiple division champion. I disagree. He's very Alex Pereira is he's good at, he could crack. We've seen him knocked out cold before. That's a good conversation to have. But when I think Alex Pereira, I don't think the combat sport GOAT by no means. I'm leaning Nikita knockout. Dude, if Nikita Zoo knocks out Zerafa, fuck. I don't know, man. Only ever two-way champion, Glory, and two-way champion, UFC, Alex the GOAT. I disagree. I definitely, Glory, I mean, there were only two-way champion, Glory. I mean, Rico was a dog in Glory. You guys must be forgetting about fucking the Doctor in Glory. I think one of the greatest Glory fighters of all time, it was not Alex Pereira. It's fucking the Armenian Italian kid. They call him the Doctor. Hands down, dude. His brother fought in the UFC. Yeah, Giorgio Petrosian, dude. You guys are out of your mind. Giorgio Petrosian, in terms of a combat sports career, this is recency bias. You guys must not know about the Doctor, boy. It's her shit. Let's go, dude. What are we talking about? Let me educate y'all real quick about Giorgio Petrosian. This man, watch his tape, watch his career. Not a perfect record, but this motherfucker, bro, there's no way you would pick Alex Pereira over Giorgio Petrosian as legacy, in terms of legacy. Multiple sports, yeah, granted Giorgio was just a Glory kickboxer, but I mean, Alex Pereira, I mean, you really like the one-dimensional style to call him the combat sports GOAT legend? I don't know, man. He's really, like, I mean, you could call him basic. He's really basic. Stiff. I don't know. Y'all cats are getting offended. Y'all cats are getting offended. 13-3 in the UFC. Well, let's see how many UFC fights is he at. What is he even at 10 UFC fights? He lost Ankalaev in a shit fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Shit, he's had. Okay. I would not call him the GOAT. I wouldn't put out, in terms of the greatest UFC fighter of all time, I wouldn't even put Alex Pereira in my top. I would put Anderson Silva. I'd put BJ Penn. I'd put George St. Pierre above Alex Pereira. And that's just in the UFC. So if Alex Pereira is not and I'd put Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson above him. So in my Mount Rushmore of UFC GOATs, how could you be a combat sports GOAT if you're not the UFC GOAT? So in terms of what each fighter meant, and Royce Gracie, I put Royce above Pereira for what each guy meant for their era and what they did. I would go no particular order. I go Anderson Silva, definitely BJ Penn, definitely George St. Pierre, definitely Royce Gracie. Yeah, Pereira's not even in my top 5, mate. And then in Glory Kickboxing, his legacy doesn't even hold a candle to Giorgio Petrosian. So I don't know what you guys, maybe this is recency bias. I agree, they all better MMA, but none of them two-weight Glory champ. Yeah, dude, what are they talking about? I'm not calling anyone a casual here. It's just sometimes I think people forget that I watch just as much MMA. I watch just as much kickboxing than I do boxing. So like, we could go toe to toe with all these combat sports. Alex is great for what he is. He's very one-dimensional. He can't grapple. You know what I'm saying? Like he's kind of like a throwback in terms of like a specialized sort of fighter. He's stiff, doesn't use the entire octagon, but he fucking hits like a truck, dude. He's like, he's kind of chinny. We've seen him knocked out cold before in Glory. We've seen him knocked out cold by 4 against a middleweight in the octagon. But I think that just goes to show you the levels of the sport. MMA is still new. MMA, as an organized sport, has only been around since 1993. And very new. And what other sport came around in your lifetime? You know what I'm saying? I was born in 82, 93, I was 11. I remember watching UFC 1, the tournament out of Colorado. So, with that being said, not a big sample size to choose from for all-time greats. A couple decades. So that's kind of the argument there. But calling him an MMA GOAT is absolutely insane, dude. Insane. UFC is hard to GOAT because the fighter is so well diverse now. When you want to look, though, at what fucking BJ Penn did in dude, BJ Penn fought at heavyweight before. BJ Penn won title, I think, 45, 55, or 55 and 70. BJ in his prime, there's a period of 5 years no one beats BJ Penn. You can almost say the same for George St. Pierre, though. There's a period of about, after his loss to Matt Serra, when GSP lost to Matt Serra, he was upset. Nobody saw that shit coming. He went on his run, and nobody touched him. But Anderson Silva, when Anderson Silva broke in, when he was coming over, and then he broke into the UFC, his run, the knockouts of fucking Rich Franklin, Forrest Griffin, what he did to wasn't it? I hate using my phone. Up until when he was showboating against Weidman. Probably that first knockout against Rich Franklin, and then when he got stopped against Weidman. But that era, I think he might have been. He has a record. Defended his belt 16 times, something along those lines. Think about that. Defended his belt, I think 16 times, dude. Something insane. So, holds the record, longest title reign history, 2,457 days. From 2006 to 2013, 7 years. And look at this. I got a memory on me. Included a UFC record, 16 consecutive victories in that span. This is the GOAT. Spider Silva. Spider Silva's the GOAT, dude. I don't give a shit what anybody says. How he was operating, what he was doing, the risks he was taking in a blood sport changed the entire game. This dude is not only a pioneer and innovator, but this dude is one of the greatest strikers combat sports has ever seen. Also, are we going to talk about he's down every second of the fight against Chael and he pulls a fucking submission with like a minute left? The dude, that shit was insane, dude. Chael talked all that shit and was this close from becoming a world champion. And fucking Anderson finds a fucking last second Hail Mary sub. (2006), 7 years, 2,400 days, 16 straight title defenses. What do we talk now in the UFC? If you defend your title, people are like, "Well, you're not a champion unless you defend your belt." It's like, bitch, you're not Anderson Silva unless you defend it 16 times. Yeah, so from about right here. Stephan Bonner knockout. Chael Sonnen. Oh, it wasn't a sub. He kneed him. No, that was the second time. Yeah. Chael Sonnen knees punches. Okami strikes. Vitor Belfort head kick. Chael Sonnen triangle armbar. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the fifth in a fight that he was down. Damian Maia, UD. People sleep on Damian Maia too. Damian Maia was a fucking nightmare. The best jiu-jitsu. When People always forget who had the best jiu-jitsu in MMA history. Fucking Damian Maia. Forrest Griffin, knockout. Talis Latis, decision. Patrick Cote, knee injury. Cote was a dog, too. People forget how good Patrick Cote was. James Irvin, punches. Hendo, dude, one of, in my opinion, the most underrated UFC fighter of all time is Dan Henderson. Look at Dan Henderson's legacy, dude. Look who Dan Henderson beat. Dan Henderson was a guy who came from the early days of the UFC. Pride UFC. Fought everybody. The H-bomb, dude. Literally, when he knocked out Bisping the first time, he took the silhouette of the knockout and made it his branding logo. So when Henderson would sell his gear, his clothes, his t-shirts, the Dan Henderson logo is a silhouette of fucking Bisping getting starched. Talk about it. Who's a colder motherfucker than Hendo? Rich Franklin, knee the first time. Nate the Great Marquardt, punches. Travis Lutter. So here's another guy I got to teach you guys about, Travis Lutter. Travis Lutter is one of the, in my top 5 jiu-jitsu guys in UFC history. Nobody's ever heard of him. Fought for 1 world title, killed himself to make 185. You could find the weigh-in footage when Lutter weighed in against Anderson. He was so massive, they had to literally carry him to the scale, and he was a fraction of himself fighting Anderson Silva. Travis Lutter is the guy who taught Kevin Holland his jiu-jitsu. So he's a coach out of Texas. Travis Lutter, dog, dude. Rich Franklin, Chris Lieben. Yeah, so when we're talking about GOATs, man, I don't even have Pereira in my conversation. Sorry. We didn't come to take part. We came to take over. Different weight class. Spider's a middleweight. John's a light heavy. Different weight class. I'm a big John fan too. Dude, when John fucking knocked out fucking Lyoto Machida, dude, and how, or when John tapped out Lyoto, and when he's standing, I think it was a standing guillotine, and then the ref comes and he just drops him, and Lyoto Machida, an all-time great, just fucking, John was brutal. Party the hooligan, you can't beat that guy. Kadal Pedrin, rear naked choke. He's like, you'd have to be a special guy to come and beat the Irish. We didn't come to take part. We came to take over. I'm not saying Alex Omega. I'm saying no one has done what he's done combined too. Yeah, they have. Holly Holm. Who's in the Hall of Fame? I guess they're both still fighting too. What, bro? That sub when Johnson and Lyoto Machida was just no cat off the street. Lyoto Machida was a goddamn legend. Lyoto was a dog, dude, and how he just fucking. On that note, I'll see you guys. You guys are beasts. Keys, I got you, bro.